Hey everybody, it's Alexander Manzoni, and we're live. How's everybody doing out there in social media town? All right, let's adjust this a little bit. Maybe lower it. There we go. Should be better. All right. Be a good show today. Yesterday I did my first guest spot on a radio show. So this week was a week of firsts. I was on KYRS 88.1, 92.3 FM, doing the Spokane Open Poetry Program with Stephen Pitters. Hi, Stephen. And that was really cool. And on Monday, I did a podcast with the Social Hour, www.socialhourpod.com. And that'll be released. The podcast will be out on 1/31, and the radio program will be aired 3/24. And it was a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to doing a lot more things like that. So if you see this out there and want to have me on your show, yeah, I could do it all. You know, I felt just as comfortable having fun doing a little bit of comedy and just messing around with the comedy podcast as much as I enjoyed the doing the serious poetry stuff broadcast on public airwaves to the ears of many. Okay, today we got a show, and I will be debuting a poem that I've never read before. But got some more upcoming dates. These are events that I either plan on going to or am performing at. Okay, 2/4 is a workshop at Boots Bakery and also a poetry slam. The workshop starts at 5:30. And the poetry slam sign-up starts at 7, and the slam begins at 8. And that's always a good event to go to. And 2/5 at the Bartlett, there's the Women of the World qualifier poetry slam competition. And we got a select group of female poets from the area who will be going head-to-head to see who goes to the Women of the World Poetry Slam event in Dallas, Texas. And people in cities all around America are doing it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Spokane. All right. Now with Art Seed, that's who I'm with. Yeah. We got 2/9, JJ Rocco will be doing a one-night only show entitled Busted from 5 to 9. And then on 2/16, we're going to be doing a photography exhibition. And on 3/16, we're going to have the 4D show. That's at 1115 West 1st Avenue, Spokane, Washington. It's always a good time. And then another organization that I have gotten to know recently, Power to the Poetry. They're having a event at the Spokane Public Library on 2/20 for Black History Month. It's an open mic. And I will be reading at that, and it'll be interesting. I already wrote the poem and ran it by the wordsmith, and it's cool. You know, I'm not gonna offend anybody except the people I mean to offend with the poem, and it's entitled "To My Trump-Loving Ex-Best Friend." So you get an idea where that's coming from. And then on 2/28, they're going to have Power to the Poetry is going to have a slam competition at Auntie's Bookstore, downtown Spokane from 7 p.m. to 8:30. Okay, so those are the events for now. And also, my birthday's on Friday. I am turning 32. Isn't that interesting? So at least this year I don't have anything to worry about. You know, you get to your birthday and it's like, well, I didn't get enough done this year, but at least I got a radio spot, you know, right before my birthday. And then all the shit that I've done this year, I never would have thought doing. I mean, like a few years ago, I couldn't even leave the house, basically. And now I go out and do events and things, and it's very interesting. Very interesting. So, let's get to some poetry, shall we? All right. This is called At the Mountain of the Maddened Ice King. Hope you got some time. This is a fucking doozy here. Many of those in the village of Splintered Barrow came. They came to gather at the base of the mountain. They came here before ascending the peak to discuss their plans for the winter and the coming holiday feastings. I don't believe there would be a feast. Many feasts. But all of that depended on the harrowing supplication of the maddened Ice King, the one named Hrunting. Hrunting, he, the sorcerer, tyrant, despot, whose legendary crystal palace layeth up top where the air is deadly thin and the snow cats are hungry for sinewy leg meats. For to survive the onslaught of winter unslaughtered, one must pay tribute. All must pay their tax of gold and blood and heart. A bag of gold, a prize, goat or mule or horse, and the firstborn daughter, spoils for the mad sorcerer of unbecoming blizzards and assaulted atrocities. For you see, if he isn't brought what he needs, we're all going to need a few extra coats and then some. The Ice King Hrunting, buried alive more than one village, and held no qualms about doing it again. When will this reign end? Asked the elder Rudor as he shook his gnarled walking stick in the direction of the mountain. Something must be done. He then announced both to the village as well to Hrunting's evil eyes on the ground. As some of the villagers had been turned, willingly, into spellbound spies, the fools were thence served their own brand of fool's gold. As they were given as gold, as what they were given as gold was not, yet they did not know that they had been tricked. Rudor whipped this new crowd, a crowd of near 50 men, near 50, not so many women, children and others, 100 in total, into a frenzy. With a stately monologue, the context of which was bold and fierce and full of fire. No longer should we so willingly grant our daughters into bondage, exclaimed Rudor. The village beat their axes and swords and flails and clubs together in response. Nothing Hrunting does can be worse than the misery of knowing every day that we have given him our firstborn daughters for him to do so as he wantonly bid. The spies took notice and thereupon descended upon the ears of the crowd. They cast doubts as loudly as they needed to be. There shan't be no feasting to speak of, they said, once Hrunting's blizzard cometh from above. Do you love your little birds that much? You know, one can always make another. It only takes two. This may perhaps surprise you, spoke the elder Rudor, but this year I have hired a holy warrior, 'tis true. And whereupon did thou procure the source of pay? Did so say a spy? I was about to say that I had allotted a pittance from what we had sworn to give to hunting under threat of death and ultimate destruction. And the village was about to hang Rudor dangling by the neck from the nearest tree when the ascetic arrived. Dun, dun, dun. He rode in, shoeless, on a bareback white horse. The holy warrior monk, the ascetic, came in with the purified long sword, Durandal. He swung his blade truly and cut the dangling Rudor down to the snow-kissed ground before he'd kicked his final kick. The ascetic unmounted and thus addressed the riotous mob of simple farmers, merchants, and artisans. You see, this be exactly what the foulest king of frost wants to sow between you all, I say. 'Tis the seeds of dissent. Give me time, and I can identify those among you whose hearts are not pure. And it was not long before they, the spies, were turned into hanging cyanotic blue wind chimes hanging there. Hanging in the blistering air instead of the elder. They, the villagers, rejoiced and gathered closer before they began the most dangerous and arduous ascent, the ascent of the mountain of the Maddened Ice King hunting, more dangerous still now that the snow had begun to fall and quickly strengthen. Though did the ascetic use the heat of their life and love, a spherical shield of protection from the biting sub-zero spell, not from hell, but perhaps from heaven. That should be enough to kill all of them, spoke the Ice King, grunting from his throne of maiden bones, chilled to taste amidst his own foul waste. And yet the villagers pressed on. It took not much time before the maddened Ice King realized in full that something was wrong. From the villagers, at the ascetic's behest, thence came a great song together in prayer, and the villagers found themselves duly protected till the snow cats came, stalking their prey, though numerous. The song so mellifluous, melodious, euphonious, it kept the snow cats at bay. As long as the villagers didn't remain in one place for too long, luckily their legs and backs and ankles were strong enough to keep them moving. A few arrows, well placed, sent the beasts reeling towards another kill, though some still did not falter, continued onward along the periphery and towards the storied gates at the outer wall up top. And strangely enough, the gates were open and seemingly abandoned, though the torches remained lit inside the icy posts. Normally they had to knock to be allowed entry by empty suits of armor infernally animated by the hand of snow and arcane secrets. Blessed be they that came with the ascetic, as he held more than a few tricks up his sleeve. All we need to do, he said, is believe. And to be swift, said the elder Rudor, before we run out of air to breathe. Swifter still they should have been, for that was the moment from on high a snow cat did pounce. It was unseen until a mere few yards away, in vertical drop from snow-blind concealment. And the snow cat did what needed to be done to corral the fleeing villagers within the gates and to hold them at bay till the gates snapped shut with a crackling, thunderous din. Boom. And there they were, trapped inside the gates of Crystal Palace, most unkind, and more than a few would soon lose their lives in pursuit of what they tried to achieve. To not have to sacrifice their kin and the choicest fruits of that which took all year to obtain. A parry, a thrust, and the ascetic buried his blade up to the hilt inside the snow cat's brain. And thence listened. From the opposite end of the tundra, snow-blown courtyard littered and strewn with bones and detritus. A clanking and calamitous clamor arose and increased in intensity. With alarming haste, it arose and intensified till they appeared, the Stygian suits, aligned in vanguard with their commander, Maticus the Savage, bringing up the rear. "What say you, knaves?" Maticus resounded, raising his gargantuan blood-stained war hammer. "Stand and deliver!" "The only thing we're here to deliver," Rudor retorted, "is a message that we will no longer tolerate the Ice Lord's oppression." The savage one grinned and stepped through to the head of the ranks, hammer in hand, and hereafter announced that it was time for a spirited lesson in suffering. And so did the two mobs clash, good versus evil, soil versus ice, and blood doth spilt across the courtyard, while remnants of shredded and dented suits were strewn about in disarray, whilst Hrunting gazed down at the ground from the highest point up top. "Of course," said Hrunting, "the savage one will be able to stop thee." Though now he did not quite believe all the things that he himself was saying. The ascetic, he blinded Maticus with a radiant blast of light which seared his eyes akin to flat iron stakes charred. Oh, the only mistake was to doubt the humble. Watching the maddened king of ice could no longer stand the scene, so he hurriedly descended the spiraling network of stairs to meet them, to give them their end. As Hrunting at last appeared, the courtyard had mostly been cleared, and there seemed to be more fear in Hrunting's eyes than theirs. "I am the Ice King," he bellowed, extending his transparent staff of horrors. "Eater of yetis and mammoth bones. I am the master of frozen wastelands. Wastelands created by the ice and volition of thine own blackened heart," roared Rudor, and while the battle continued with the villagers and unhallowed armored suits, Maticus blindly swung his war hammer, whirlwind towards the muffled sounds of footsteps and combat to little avail, while hail began to form and drop from the sky. 'Twas the beginning of Hrunting's meteoric Maelstrom, ice storm. You shall all die now, Runting cackled. You, your entire families, as well as your precious daughters. How thoughtless it was for you to all come up here. We no longer fear you, Rudor yelled through cupped and withered venerable hands. The meteor was gathering and shifting towards the villagers. It was due to fall within minutes. The villagers advanced with swung sword, bludgeoning club, sent arrow, familial fury. No need to worry, thought Runting. No need, yes, that is, till he and his host, Sans Maticus blind, still swinging and stumbling, they were pushed back. They were pushed back inside the foyer of the Crystal Palace. You don't want to miss what happens after this, where another wave of Stygian suits arose to meet fate with our heroes. And it was here that the ascetic's nose was lopped off by way of double-handed, ice-bladed snow steel, hefted and delivered by attacking armored white. Blood, fallen speckle splattering the tiled and carpeted ground all around the foyer. They were losing momentum, whilst the icy asteroid doth gained it doubly. There is not much time, said the ascetic, prolifically bleeding, spurting red carpet running down, severed bleeding ruin of countenance cut short. We must make our exit. Though before they could triumph in force and in spirit, Runting brought forth a tremendous force of ominous, gnawing frost, an amalgamation of crystalline parts, a terrible terror, and they knew not its name or nature. Welcome to your ends, cried Runting, voice breaking. Electricity begat and threatened to consume the whole of his body. And the terror, it burst forth from the mucilaginous borderline, the thin barrier between dimensional architecture. It had been pierced. The snowflake cells were a template for its infernal design. Why? Oh, why? The most shaken of the villagers lamented, their ends now resigned too true. And so issued the rallying cry from Rudor. Only a little more pressure. But it would be foolish to think that they were all heroes as a number collapsed, scattered in their stead, while Maticus the savage found himself trampled by the terror. Stygian suits became crushed tin cans underfoot. Runting struggled to maintain control over the barbarous frenzy. You belong to me, squealed he to the terror and to the villagers. And the terror took a wide swing at him. It connected and sent him reeling. The ascetic, seeing a window of golden opportunity, he leapt forward, Durandal in hand, and hurtled over raging foes to meet fate with the terror. While the rest of the villagers, they came forth with the main force advancing with Rudor, whilst a half dozen more backed up the warrior monk. As the meteor drove ever closer, Hrunting crawled to his feet and gazed out at the sky through an open window of his own blood ran into his beady eyes, sanguine teardrops, exclaiming, "If I, the Ice King, cannot have it all, then none of you shall." While the ascetic did battle, the rest moved in. They moved in on Hrunting for what should have been an easy kill. For Rudor, who then said, "Hrunting, we will stand your atrocities no more." And he went to deliver truly the final blow. But little did they know what Hrunting had in store for them, as Rudor commenced to bashing the Ice King's brains with an iron-studded cudgel, till gray matter burst forth from his wizened skull, though with Hrunting's last breath came the suicide spell. His body rent and bent and torn as it exploded with piercing razor ice javelins. And so did the blood of many subsequently spill, though Rudor survived and was merely thrown to the floor. Men, women, it made no matter as Hrunting cackled his final harrowing shriek. Many could not believe the nature of the unleashed spell, though they so knew that their time on this planet was dwindling. The ascetic continued swinging. He continued battling by the swirling open void, the portal between worlds. And the terror bit down upon he. Even so, the ascetic was undeterred and never faltered, while all the while the meteor came closer. "There is no choice but to go through there," resounded the ascetic. "This spell will protect you all as best I can." And the gestures became somatic gesticulations under duress, and before the ascetic was bitten in half, he unleashed it upon the villagers, and as they ran for their lives toward the gaping hole, the hole that exists between reality, the meteor, it broke forth and demolished the palace, crystal towers capsizing, collapsing, avalanching, only to turn to steam from roiling atmospheric heat. Though not before, the terror divided the ascetic's holy body in two, and it ravenously consumed him before stampeding back through the portal, biting at the heels of Rudor and the villagers. And when the portal did so close, so did the dust and the carnage settle. And so afterwards did life continue. The crystal palace in ruin, most of the village of splintered barrow vanished. Still, despite the arduous months and years that followed, life went on for those who were left, and though they struggled to survive without the grim and ominous looming specter of the maddened Ice King Hrunting, they found that they could live their lives, and they could do it without fear. Even though it wasn't so clear as to what exactly happened to their heroes, their woes have since been abated. And in the dire dimension of dreams, and all that lay in between, a fighting force of villagers and rude door remained, and they wandered the windswept plains with the terror always in pursuit. They met fate with a man so named Lee Sampson, and one so named Mr. West. They thence joined forces and continued forth, onward toward the ultimate test, the ultimate quest, until we finally return again. Thank you. That was At the Mountain of the Maddened Ice King, and I never read that before. I tied it in together at the end with the Mr. West universe, also the From New Jersey to Hell universe. And I'm writing the Mr. West poem still. It's a long one like this one. It's going to tell the story of, going into the dire dimension of dreams and all that lay in between. And it's all the stuff that's going to lead up to him meeting with the villagers and Rudor and the terror. And it's very interesting because I didn't intend to have all these universes collide originally. It just started kind of happening where I'd be in a situation and be like, ooh, this would work together with that. So I'm really enjoying writing these long prose poems inspired by a combination of Beowulf and H.P. Lovecraft, Edgar Allan Poe, Game of Thrones. I do a lot of the Pathfinder RPGs, and I used to do D&D, that kind of stuff. I like the magic and things, and I like poetic verse, and I like tales about heroes and demons and all of that. So if you like tales of demons and things, you will enjoy these poems, such as The Siege. Oh, yeah. I was working a little bit on that yesterday. Woo! Or maybe I could even put together a poetry book full of just nothing but those type of poems, like these warrior poems, and that'll probably just be warrior poetry. Always liked the idea of that. Always writing about it, and like Beowulf and stuff. The idea that there's like these very poetic warriors writing about just being badass motherfuckers, and so I'd like this was a good show. And I just wanted to prove to the world that you could be a poet and be a badass motherfucker. Still, you don't have to always talk about regular poetry things. You could just do whatever the hell you want. And that's what I've been doing. Trying to do as many different things as I can and seeing what works and what I enjoy doing the most. It's a lot of fun. Thank you for watching Manzoni in the morning. Tomorrow's my birthday, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not having a party because, my apartment isn't the kind of place where it would be good to have a party. It's big enough, but got all these people downstairs, and like this week, I had someone complain to the landlord that I was playing music at night or something, being too loud. I've been doing nothing. So it's like back in the day, I used to have these giant parties, and it was just out of control, just really, really loud, and just nuts. I mean, we're raising some hell and just being as loud as we can, and just that was my lifestyle. Now I come out here, and like the most trouble I got into this week was somebody thinking that I was being loud at night. Or it's funny. I guess that's kind of karma for the all the times my mother would be like, Alex, you and your friends are so loud, you're screaming at the top of your lungs, and I'm like, good, I'm gonna fucking scream as much as I want. And now instead of my drunken, crazy rantings, now I just have my crazy rantings on my poetry, and I've found a way to have that intense reading style and just put my feelings out and thoughts out there very intensely without the chaos of alcohol and waywardness and just going into it blind and just And that's not a great way to live, because after a while, people can't stand you anymore and they don't want to be around you. Or they're like, oh, I don't know who I'm going to get. Am I going to get the regular Alex, or am I going to get the fucked up guy? You know? So, trying to be regular Alex all the time and not be so fucked up. And it was a lot of fun. So I hope everyone has a good day, and I hope you go to some of these poetry events. That means you. There's a lot of stuff going on. All right. Well, I'll probably tune in tomorrow, and it'll be a special birthday show. Thank you very much. Bye.